Awesome. I see that Lynn Ann hopped on, so let's go ahead and get started for our meeting today. So first and foremost, I want to say welcome to everybody. Thank you for joining us for our general meeting this morning. And I want to also give homage to the traditional homelands upon which our AIEA is housed currently, and that's homage to the Peepash and the Acoma Otham people. So we want to thank them for allowing us to be guests on their beautiful traditional homelands. And so again, I just want to say welcome everybody to our October general meeting for the Arizona Indian Education Association. If we could just introduce ourselves, Jerry again will go around and let our executives introduce themselves, and then we'll allow our guests and visitors and our members to introduce shortly thereafter. My name is Kimberly Dankupagay. I am Kiowa, Caddo, and Pawnee, and I sit as the current president for the AIEA Association. And I currently work here in Tucson, Arizona for the Amphitheater Public Schools, where I am the coordinator for the Native American Education Program. So welcome.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jerry Thomas, and I'm the AIEA Secretary, and I'm also at the Intertribal Council of Arizona as a Healthy Native Youth Specialist.
Esther?
Good morning. My name is Esther Nystrom. I am the program specialist for the Native American Education Program. I am the current vice chairperson for the Arizona Indian Education. I reside in Mesa, and that's also, I reside in Chandler now, and that's also, I work in Mesa Public Schools. All right, thank you.
Travis?
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us this morning. Happy Friday. I'm Travis Lane. I'm the Assistant Director for Intertribal Council of Arizona, and I serve as Treasurer for Arizona Indian Education Association.
Lynn?
Hi, of course, I was muted. Hi, everyone. My name is Lynn Ann Canasi, and I am the Native American Specialist for the Phoenix Union High School District. I'm currently serving as the Communication Secretary for AIEA. And welcome to the meeting, everyone.
And Jerry, if you could just go down the list on our participants and just ask each one. Thank you.
Good morning, this is Gerard Begay from South Mountain Community College. I'm the current coordinator for American Indian Student Center. Thanks.
Next, we have Paul Fulginity.
Good morning, Paul Fulginity with the Dropout Recovery Program for Career Success School District. I'm also a member of the Arizona Department of Ed Indian Education Task Force. Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Next, we have Melody.
Hi, I'm Melody Lopez, Hopi Navajo and Pueblo, and I'm the owner of Indigenous Strategies here in Tucson.
Then next up, we have John Bastian.
Yes, hello. My name is John Bastian. I work at Rio Salado College. I live in the Phoenix area.
Next up, we have Lindsay Cotton.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsay. I work with Maricopa Community Colleges, and I'm attending on behalf of my my director, Winona Therian, and I work with American Indian Outreach.
Thank you. Kim, that's all.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And again, welcome to our general meeting today. We have a lot to discuss and greatly appreciate you being here. So we'll get started with the agenda. Jerry, if you could pull that up. We have our minutes That was sent out to our membership, and if you could take a moment, we should have already reviewed those minutes. So if we could have a motion to approve, we'll give a few minutes for everybody to just quickly review the minutes that were sent out to the membership. And this was for our September meeting. So we'll give maybe at least a minute to review quickly, and then I would like to call for a motion to approve. Or if Jerry, if you could pull those on the screen.
Good morning, this is Esther. I make a motion to approve the minutes for September 2020.
Okay. All right, motion on the floor by Esther to approve the minutes of September 20th. May I have a second?
This is Travis, I'll second it.
Okay, motion to second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? If none, motion passed. Thank you for approving those. And then next on the agenda, we have our president's report. First and foremost, I want to, maybe you go to the next slide, Jerry, on there. Okay, first and foremost, I just want to acknowledge that this is voting season, election season actually. And so if you, I hope everybody is registered to vote in the upcoming election. This is a very important election, especially for our Native community. And so yesterday was the deadline for registration. So I just wanted to encourage everybody to get out there and have our Native voices be heard in this upcoming election this November. Again, it's an important election specifically for our Native communities, as is all elections, but I think this has been an unprecedented time, and we just need to hopefully get the right people in there to take care of our communities and encourage that decision-making process. So just wanted to acknowledge that. Second on the list is our National Indian Education Association Conference. This took place last week, October 7th through the 9th. And for a lot of educators who were able to attend, I just wanted to highlight a few sessions that I was able to attend throughout the week. And so one of those, well, I was able to attend valuable and resourceful sessions throughout the conference. One point to remember is that NIEA is continuing to advocate alongside many other Native organizations on behalf of our Native communities. For this Congress session, and with the White House full-fledged into election season, there is not much activity until after the election on any type of bills. There was several bills that were discussed during the legislative update sessions, and also from the Office of Indian Education, as well as several other informative sessions that were held. And a lot of the questions was what's the status on those bills? So a lot of that, the bills are currently being put on hold until after the election in November. And so just wanted to highlight that. That is what we were told from the NIEA leadership. So, but they also were encouraging that there are a number of other bills that are being developed and moving forward that NIEA, NCAI, a lot of Native organizations are currently working on that are addressing school climate and things of that nature. So January is the time that Congress will create new committees for the year. So that's what we're kind of focusing towards and what we're looking at and advocating on behalf of our Native communities, and specifically for us, for Indian education. So I just wanted you to be aware that even though the bills may not be processed at this time, we are looking at January to where after the election and new committees are created, that these bills will continue that advocacy on behalf of the bills that are currently out there. Next on the list was just the Office of Indian Education. I wanted to let everybody know, I'm sure a lot of our educators are already aware that we have a new director at the federal level. His name is Julian Guerrero Jr. And he is actually from my home state of Oklahoma. So he was the director, former director for the Oklahoma Indian Education department there and for the state of Oklahoma. If you don't know a lot about Julian, I encourage you to see the type of framework that he's created for the state of Oklahoma and what we're hoping to eventually do here in the state of Arizona. It's a great framework that he provided, that all 39 tribes within the state of Oklahoma are represented throughout the curriculum there in the state. And so I was really happy to hear that he is at the federal level and that he'll bring his expertise into implementing that curriculum throughout the whole nation and on a national level. And so he had highlighted a few items that were geared for the Office of Indian Education under his administration. There were 4 things that I caught. There may have been more that I missed, but the first thing was to streamline internal procedures. He wanted to ensure that all the procedures within the office are in a timely manner and that they are executed according to how they need to be for all of the programs, the Indian education programs throughout the nation. Secondly, he was wanting to improve employee morale. There's been a lot of downside of if you've kept up with the Indian education on a national level of what's been happening. There's been a change in the turnover of so many directors over the past few years. And so he wants to improve that employee morale among their office space there at the Washington office. Thirdly, he wanted to increase the Office of Indian Education visibility in order to get our Indian education out there on a more national level to help people across the nation understand what Indian education is and to help them see the need that we have for our Native students and what we are trying to do in order to increase the education academic success for a lot of our students and the need to help our families. There were a lot of issues that were discussed over the week. And fourthly, he's just wanting to have a timely and transparent support, which is something that every organization would like to have. And so those are just a few of the things that he highlighted. The vision for the OIE office is a stronger connection with the state Indian Education Office. Again, he's coming from the standpoint of being a former state director. So he wants to improve that communication at the federal level with all of our Indian Education state directors. And he wants to have consistent communication during the COVID-19 pandemic with everything that's been happening and the adjustments that we have all been encountering, just to have that communication going of any updates as far as Indian education is concerned. He also mentioned that their success is dependent upon our success as a grantee. And so for those of us who receive the federal dollars for Indian education, he wants to see us succeed. And if we succeed, then they succeed. And so it was a really good overview of what he provided at the conference. I have more notes available if anybody is interested, which I can provide to you. Just feel free to ask. I did want to highlight the Title VI grant for those of us who received these federal dollars with our programs, that there was an automatic 12-month no-cost extension for fiscal year 19. This would normally expire on September 30th, which just recently passed of this year, but it now has been extended to where it'll expire next September 30th, 2021. And so that was a relief for a lot of our programs, because with the pandemic that happened earlier in the year, it put a halt to a lot of spending. And so that will help us to expend our funds that we receive for this year. In that, we must expend or obligate any grant monies by the end of the grant year, which is next year, June 30th. It is highly recommended to do so, that all, including the fiscal 20 money that must be spent by June 30th of 2021. And so all of the federal Title VI grant fundings that we receive for our Indian education programs must be expended by that time, which is the normal timeline that we've had. In addition to that, in regard to the Title VI, the registration will be opening next month in November, and Part 1 will officially open in February. So that's a little bit of the timeline for what was discussed for the Title VI federal dollars and the funding that we receive for our Indian education programs. And lastly, I just want to highlight the public hearing of the Alice Spotted Bear and Walter Sobolev Commission on Native Children. For those who aren't aware, this is an 11-member Commission on Native Children, established by Congress to conduct a comprehensive study of federal, state, local, and tribal programs, and to develop recommendations, goals, and plans for achieving goals for federal policy relating to Native children, as well as modifications necessary to improve programs that serve American Indian, Alaska Native, and Native Hawaiian children at the federal, state, and local tribal levels. There was a big discussion during this session. This was one of the sessions that was held at the NIEA conference, but I wanted to highlight this because even a few of our members here with AIEA and a few of our students throughout Arizona were invited. This was supposed to have taken place, a public hearing was supposed to have taken place on this back in March, but of course, due to the pandemic, that was postponed. It was supposed to have taken place in September of this year. So they utilized NIEA platform in order to have that public hearing to be held. There was a lot of discussion, a lot of great insight and highlights of Native issues that directly affected our children and our families. Just a few of those that I wanted to highlight. They did mention, I believe it was one of the commissioners, Commissioner Gray, who did say that it needs to be holistic. What they're doing is compiling a report. So the report is what he's referring to, that needs to be holistic of who we are and where we come from, and to take a hard, honest look at our history and evaluate where we've been and where we put ourselves. There was a lot of talk about the trauma-informed care, especially during the pandemic that's been taking place, a lot of our students, and that effect that it has upon them mentally in the process of trying to maintain a good academic status. So there was a lot of discussion about the trauma-informed care and the need for a standardized curriculum, a appropriate culturally relevant curriculum, and to provide leadership training for a lot of our teachers and our educational staff that is out there, and how to deal with this and how to cope and deal with what's happening with our students and how to help them do better in school and to academically succeed. It was more than just teaching of the importance of service. It's about teaching how to connect with other people. And when we do this, you teach them to help advocate. And so this was just a highlight that really touched me and stuck in my mind because of what's been happening with this pandemic and how our students are being affected and our children, and that encouragement and that support that they need to continue and to move forward. One of the other issues that Lynn Ann actually brought up was about transportation and the difficulties of that with our families and our Native children. Not only that, but the internet connection and technology access and difficulties that they're having right now at this time. And so there was so much, a lot of issues that was discussed during that time. And so if you ever get a chance, I encourage you to attend these public hearings because it gives you insight of what's happening and the issues that are affecting our Native children and our Native families. And so those are just a few things. I don't want to keep you too long on that. We have a lot to discuss during our agenda. And so I just wanted to highlight those few points during my report. And so, but that is all that I have. And is there any questions? All right. If not, then we can move on to our treasurer's report. And so I am going to turn it over to Travis.
Thanks, Kim. And thanks, I think, Jerry, you put the treasurer's, this PowerPoint together. Appreciate it. So, yeah. So the update for our budget for ITCA's support for AIEA is that we've had no expenses for the month of September, and our current balance is our current total expenses are $46,624.32. We also have some revenue. The membership and the activities that we support, like the protecting our land camp and the educators celebration. And then if we ever get back to doing the conferences, they are accounted for in the ITCA account. So over the past, I think, 5 years that we've been the fiscal sponsor for AIEA, our total revenue has been $10,360.37, which leaves us a total balance of minus $36,263.95. It sounds like a big number, but this is something that ITCA has committed to continue to support AIEA. We just track it this way in our budget system, how we track all of our grants. But don't worry about that expense. ITCA will continue to support AIEA financially. And then for our Desert Financial Bank account, we did award the scholarships for this year's for our AIEA scholarship. And so that brought down our checking account a little lower than before. So our total ending balance right now is $984.86. We're waiting on one more scholarship recipient to cash their check of $150. So that will go down by another $150. And then we do have a savings account. It does have some dividends, and the ending balance is $42,586.18. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Travis. Are there any questions? All righty. If not, we can move on to the next item on the agenda, which is our old business. And first and foremost, we have our Youth Winter Leadership Camp. And so we've had some changes that had taken place since we last met at our last meeting. So I am going to turn it over to Jerry to provide the update.
So for the winter camp, we recently, AIEA Executive Board decided to meet for a meeting, and then we were able to approve for the date as Monday and Tuesday, December 28th and 29th. We thought this date would be suitable for students during that time where they're at, during their winter break, you know, before New Year's and then shortly after Christmas. So they have those 2 days where they're out of school and, you know, they're taking a break from school, and then, you know, before the New Year's comes up. So we thought that might be more suitable. And for day one, we will have the Intertribal Council of Arizona and their team do manage that day. So I know that they were thinking about a STEM program, a STEM camp program for them, where they will be able to do STEM activities and then have Native American presenters there that we're going to be talking about STEM and policy. And then for the AIEA, they are going to be managing for day two. So right now we're still in the process of planning for the AIEA day. Right now we're planning for the format to be on the Zoom platform. And then we also have confirmed that we're going to have only 50 available seats this year. And then the scholarship that are going to be available to eligible students is 5. And then we're going to reduce the registration fee. Usually every year we have about 20 to 25 camp students. And then also our fee is like $75 for registration. And then, you know, like $65, you know, a $10 reduced fee for AIEA affiliates or AIEA members. So this year, because it's going to only be 2 days, and we decided for non-AIEA members to be $40 and the AIEA members to be $20. So whatever fee, registration fees we collect, that usually goes towards supplies. So every year we have supplies for the students. And this year we're going to be having these camp packages for the students. And I'm going to be going over that for the next slide. But then also we do also have a fund for those that we try to fund for those that are presenters. So especially for elders that want to donate their time, we do pay them for that time. Usually last year, I think we did $500 for elders or presenters. And then also we, for the college mentors, they are volunteers that help manage the students in person. But this year we're going to be doing breakout rooms, and those college mentors will be guiding those students during their activities. So they stay on task, and then also they'll be able to get feedback from the students of how the camp is going, and then also they'll help us with the artwork project so that they stay on task for the artwork. So for the camp packages, the camp program packet is going to be printed out and then put inside the camp package. We also are going to be having art supplies. We usually have colored pencils, crayons, markers, and paper for those students. And then also we're going to have writing supplies. So they're going to be having journals during that time, and they're going to be doing journal activities. So we just make sure that they have a writing pad. And then also AIEA camp t-shirts. We're going to be putting these t-shirts inside the package as well. They are from last year's camp. And college merchandise donations. I know from TOCC, Chandra said that she did have college merchandise that she wanted to, that are just sort of building up in her office. And she said that she would be able to donate college merchandise, that college merchandise from Tohono Community College. So she said that if we wanted that, she would be able to ship it to us. So we're in the process of doing that right now, but most likely we just want to make sure that, it is known that, if you have any college merchandise to donate, just let us know, and then we'll be able to coordinate and then put those inside the student camp packages. And then for the camp updates, we are still working on the camp sponsorship letter. So last year I think we had one sponsorship from the, I still don't know how they say it, the AIEA or the AIEA, so the American Indian Affairs Association. They did sponsor us last year, and and when they did that, they donated some money towards the, So Gerard, we're going to be giving out camp packages in a way that we're going to have like centralized locations. So we know that delivery is going to be costly, but so we're going to have like a deadline of early December. So once we get their addresses, we're going to collect that data so we can be able to have these centralized locations. So Phoenix, Tucson, and then up north in Flagstaff, and most likely Navajo, so we can be able to distribute those packages to the students and to sort of cut costs, because we have, everyone here at AIEA is working virtually, and then here those centralized locations are where we are located. So we're going to be able to cut costs that way. But we're also right now, yes?
I just want to know, how many bags are you planning on? Because you're asking for college items.
Mm-hmm.
How many items should I be asking for? If I put in a request, how many items should I be requesting? Or how many bags are you planning on filling?
We're probably going to be doing about 50, but usually every year we do probably about 30, but I would say just reserve for 50 items if that's possible, because that's going to be the cap for this year's.
Okay, I'll go ahead and see if I can ask my college.
Okay, thank you. So for the editing the sponsorship letter, right now we're doing a sponsorship letter that's going to be written for Native-owned businesses, you know, like resorts or, you know, to the tribes to see if they would like to sponsor for this year. And then, you know, we're calling for donations of supplies and merchandise. So from last time, like the college merchandise, you know, and then if they have any t-shirts or pens or anything like that, you know, just send it our way. And then also supplies like writing supplies or art supplies. So what we're going to see for the deadline is for us, the planning committee, to get out that sponsorship by the end of December, so we can see if we have any sort of sponsorship resources available. And then we know that we have a partnership with ITCA for their day one. They'll be able to donate some money to us for this event. So for the camp flyer release, we're hoping to have that by November. So it's going to be updated with all our information, and then also the link for registration. And then also we have, you know, the information. I'm the contact person for the event. And then also we will have the event posted on the AIEA webpage on the ITCA website. And then for our planning committee, we're still planning on a theme, but we still need presenters for the event itself. So every year we have elders, we have someone, right now we have someone to do the blessing in the running event. So that is good. And then also we do need a call for college mentors as well. So, you know, every year we had this event that was sponsored by, you know, University of Arizona one year, and then also last year we had an NAU sponsor our event as well, and they were able to get these wonderful students from their institutions to help us with our you know, managing the youth there, and then guiding the youth in their activities. But if you'd like more information about the camp, just contact me. My phone number is right there, and then also my email. Does anyone have any questions?
Hi, Jerry. The last slide's a tentative date.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the finalized date, or is it still a tentative date?
So for the final, we're hoping to get it out by November. I didn't put a November date, but we're just hoping to make that goal for November. So we would like to, because we need time to, you know, to promote the event, and then we just want to see if right now for October, we just want to see if there's like any sponsors that would be available at the time.
I mean, for the camp itself,
Mm-hmm.
for the camp, because the camp dates have moved seveul times. So is that a tentative camp date?
Oh no, sorry. I wrote this like maybe a little like maybe a week ago, but yeah, this is the final date. So it will be on Monday and Tuesday, December 28th and 29th. Sorry, so. Okay. Any other questions?
All righty. Thank you, Jerry, for that update. I know that's a lot of information, but we try and keep everybody updated as closely as possible. So next on the agenda we have is our educators banquet. Again, we've had a few changes to this just due to the adjustments we've had to make for this year. And so as you can see, our date, I believe, is confirmed for February 27th. This was just a report that we've been working on with our committees. And so I am going to again turn it over to Jerry to provide that update.
Yes. So this event here, that tentative date is the actual event date for Saturday, February 27th of next year. So we confirmed that with the executive board this week. So, you know, Saturday, February 27th is the date, and then the time is going to be from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. So that's going to be a Phoenix time. And then right now we are still planning for for the Zoom platform. And then for this year's registration, if you refer to, so the Phoenix Indian Center tonight is hosting their silver and turquoise ball tonight. And then how their registration process is going is you can register online, but they require credit card payment put inside your registration. So if you decide to bid or do the raffle events for that event for tonight, you'll be able to do that. So we'll probably be modeling our educators banquet after that registration process. So we have no registration fee set for the educators banquet, just because we know last year we had a registration fee just because it was an actual event where we had catering, we had a silent auction, and then we had hosts and presenters there for in person. But since this is going to be virtual, we decided to not have a registration fee, and we will be planning to have a credit card payment option for the raffle and silent auction bidding. And then this is sort of how the event schedule is looking. So we will be having an AIEA welcome. And then also beforehand at noon to 1 o'clock, people will have the silent auction preview to take a look at the silent auction items. And then also we're gonna have a blessing, and then the keynote speaker is confirmed, will be Lynette Stant from the Salt River Elementary School. She is the 2020 Arizona Teacher of the Year. And then also we will have our Educators Award ceremony, and then also a silent auction announcement of the silent auction winners, and then also the raffle prizes winners. So like I said, this agenda right here is just very, loose. So it hasn't been finalized just yet. And then also we are going to send out a sponsorship letter this year. So right now we're in the process of editing the sponsorship letter. And what we're asking for is a call for sponsorships and also donations for artwork and raffle items. And then we're going to be outreaching for the artwork and raffle items from the Native artists and then tribal and Native owned businesses. So like the camp, we're going to reach out to tribal and Native owned businesses like resorts, casinos, and then the tribal governments to see if they would like to sponsor this event in any way. And then also the event flyer and agenda. We hope to have that out in December along with the award nomination form, which we're going to go over in the next slide. So for the nomination form, we are still editing the form itself, and then we will be finalizing the nomination form in November. And then what we're going to do is we're going to upload it to the AIEA webpage, and then also email it to the OIE and then the AIEA listserv. So there are 11 awards, and we hope to have it finalized in November, just because we want to see if there's any sponsorships, and we're going to have that option to see if a sponsor would like to have the award named after them. So the award names may be subject to change, but we will be getting the form out, and then at the actual event, the award names might be changed because the sponsor had the option to rename the award after their selected name. So the 11 awards, the new award being the Resiliency Award down at the bottom, which is specifically designed for those who maintained and advocated for COVID-19 protocols and protecting themselves and students while continuing their responsibilities. So some of the awards are for those that are working at the schools, in classroom and outside of the classroom. So not only teachers and principals and superintendents, but also bus drivers, parents, JOM coordinators, and those that prepare the food, and those that look after the children. Those awards are not just restricted to those that are inside the classroom, just those that support American Indian students K through 12 that are, in Arizona. We want to hear your stories and want to see those nomination forms come in to read about those individuals. So for the educators banquet planning committee, like I said, we're still planning the event, and right now what we're going to call for is for sponsors and then raffle and silent auction donations. If you'd like more information, you can contact me. That's my email, and then that's my phone number. Right now, does anyone have any questions?
All right. Jerry, I just want to highlight that the sponsorship for the awards from the tribes, I know we had tried to do this last year for our banquet before we actually had it to have our awards in a tribal language, and we had hoped to have it in the languages throughout Arizona. And so that's something that we still want to try and accomplish. So with that, what Jerry is saying, that the tribes who would like to take on the award, to sponsor an award, that it would be in their traditional language. And so we're still hoping that we can make that happen. We didn't quite achieve that last year, so we just went with the leadership of AIEA at the time. And so we had at least 4 awards that were in our tribal languages during that time. But we're still hopeful that things will work out for us within this time frame that we have allotted. Are there any questions regarding the banquet or discussion about that? All right, if none, then we can move on in the agenda. So next up, we have our new business. And the first item under new business is our membership. We do have our membership application out. Jerry, can you confirm if it's been uploaded to the website?
Yes, so the AIEA membership application for 2020-2021 has been uploaded to the AIEA webpage.
Okay, thank you. With that, our leadership, the executive board, has taken into consideration what, again, the adjustments we've been having to accommodate with the pandemic this year. So with that, and with the application just recently being uploaded to our website, we've decided to extend membership for this year through October 30th of 2021. And so if you've already paid membership, then you're good until October. And if you would like to become a member, we highly encourage you, because you still are able to get that full year membership according to the decision we made for our membership this year, just to accommodate, again, everything that's been taking place. So the website is up on the screen here, that if you click on that, you'll be able to, if you go to that web link, it'll take you straight to our program, AIEA program site, and the application form is uploaded on there. With that, we also have an updated calendar. Just a second. We also have the updated calendar that right now what we've decided as the executives is to hold our AIEA general meetings every 3rd Friday, so that there's a consistency among our membership, that they're not guessing of when our meetings will be held, that they can include that on their calendars from this point forward. So every 3rd Friday is what we're looking at. If there's any changes, there's usually some months where we don't hold meetings just due to activities and events on a national basis throughout Indian country, that we don't hold those. But we will let you know when that happens. I highly encourage you to keep apprised of your emails. If you're not on our listserv, then please contact Linan Yazi, who is our communications secretary, and she will get you on the list to get emails sent out to you. Also, with that, we have, it's up on our website. So if you go to our website again, you'll see the updated calendar on there. If there's any revisions, we will definitely send that out to you and get that, the correct version uploaded to our website. Right now, we are only accepting cash, money order, or check. We are currently looking into credit card accessibility. I've been looking into that for about a month now, a little over, well, since the summertime actually, and I've been having some difficulty with trying to get that through. So Travis is actually looking into that for us as our treasurer and the moderator over our financial accounts. And so he's looking into seeing how we can make that happen, because I know that would really accommodate a lot of our those who would like to be members and just our membership in general with what's happening right now, since everything is pretty much virtual. But once we get that confirmed and an idea of when that will take place, we will again let our membership know when we're able to accept credit card payments. But for the time being, we're only accepting cash, money order, or check. So hopefully within the future, we'll be able to do that. We are looking at several platforms. PayPal is one of them. I think Venmo is another one. I don't know. There's several platforms that we're taking a look at. But again, Travis is on top of that, and he'll let us know within the coming weeks, or at least by our next general meeting session. So are there any questions about the membership? All right, if there are none, we can move on. Next on the agenda is our officer nominations for this upcoming year. This meeting was supposed to have been where we're going to be accepting nominations for our leadership, AIEA leadership for this coming year. We held our executive meeting earlier this week, and we, as the executives, would like to propose a suggestion for this coming year in regard to the election for AIEA. With everything that's been happening, we really haven't been able to go full capacity as we previously had in previous years on our events. A lot of our events got postponed just due to the adjusting that we've had to do again with the pandemic. And so in a discussion we had during our executive session, we'd like to propose to our membership here that with the officer nominations, that we suspend the rules for this year and allow our leadership to remain in place through, I believe it was through August of next year. That way we can have consistency with all the events and everything that's taking place right now that we have set for this coming year and the events that we have coming up. And so with that, we would like to, again, suspend the rules for our elections for this year, hold off until next year when we have hopefully a larger membership that's available to provide their insight and suggestions for the organization. And with that, we would like to see that nominations be held in August of next year, and then our election will take place in September. So that would accommodate and go in line with our extended for our membership through October. So that way, if there's any new leadership, they would again take that and take on that during the October meeting for next year. And so I'd like to put it out there for our membership. As executives, we can only have a discussion about it and talk about it, but we do not make that decision. And so I leave it up to the membership for AIEA if that's something that you would like, or if you agree with that, but it's open for discussion if you don't agree, and we're okay either way. So I'm going to leave it there and open it up for the discussion among the membership and to have your thoughts. Whether we suspend the rules and allow the leadership to stay in place through August of 2021 and then have our election in September of 2021, or if you would like to proceed with accepting nominations for this meeting and having our election next month. And anybody's open to for the discussion. Okay, well, well, I'll propose it to the membership and call for a motion that with no discussion on that, if we could move forward with what our executives had discussed and talked about, and that is to suspend the rules for this election year and to keep our current leadership in until August of 2021, to have our nominations for our next election in August 2021, and to have our election to be held in September of 2021. So if there's no discussion on that, I'd like to call for a motion.
This is Esther. I'd like to make a motion to extend the officers until August of 2021.
Okay, motion on the floor. Is there a second?
This is Lynn, I'll second.
All right, we have a second on the floor. And is there any other discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Yes, Melody.
I'm abstaining. I don't know what to think about it. That was really fast for me. I don't have any commentary, so just abstained.
Okay, it is noted. Thank you. And I don't see everybody unless I scroll through. So and feel free if you don't agree or if you want to abstain, just let us know just so we can have it noted in our minutes. So, so far I do have one abstention. Are there any others? Okay, if none, then motion has passed, and we thank you for your time and support for our AIEA organization. I know it's a lot, and thank you again to our leadership who has been in place. You've done a fantastic above and beyond during this pandemic, and so I appreciate your commitment, dedication throughout it all. And as well as our members, thank you for continuing to support us at every meeting. I know and appreciate your time with us here. And so, all right, so we can move on to our next item on the agenda, which is our webinar series. And this is something we're really excited about. We had a fantastic, successful educational webinars that we held earlier this year. And we invited a lot of colleges, tribal colleges, a lot of topics that we discussed. And so we had such positive feedback. We want to continue that momentum. And so starting with our meeting next month in November, we're going to start off our webinar series again. And so I am going to turn it over to Jerry once again to provide that update, because we have a lot of exciting sessions that we have planned. So go ahead, Jerry.
Okay. So for the AIEA webinars, they actually started in April 2020. And during that time, we decided to host it because we wanted to sort of embrace that transition of going into an online platform to start doing our AIEA events. And then we knew that we really wanted to do these webinars and workshops in person, but because of COVID, we decided to start doing webinars, and it was in fact very successful on our first attempt. And then during our second webinar session, we actually had about 90 to 95 attendees. And the purpose of these webinars were to introduce topics related to Indian education that would include the students and parents and educators, to communicate with each other, and then also learn about these opportunities around Arizona that they may not know about already. So right now, we're still focusing on our college planning series for new and future college students. And, they want to know about the college planning process. So, scholarships, learning about different tribal colleges or other colleges, universities, community colleges were featured. And then also we have one about navigating white institutions as Native American students. So that was something that was really successful as well. So what we did was we introduced programs, college and universities. We had scholarship programs and scholarship offices with their representatives there for this online layout. So they were able, the attendees were able to contact the professionals and then gain important information on how the students can start their post-high school journey, and then looking into applying to colleges. And then during this time of social distancing, we just wanted to let them know how their changing COVID protocols impacted the programs and then the application procedures during that time. So right now, our past webinars, they are posted up on the AIEA YouTube channel. So if you just go up to the search bar, you'll just type in, Arizona Indian Education Association, and it should pull right up. So our first one was the tribal scholarships, and then that included Tana Otham, and then we had a few other tribal scholarship offices that were there to present. And then the second one was tribal colleges and universities, part 1. So, those included Navajo Tech and the Dene College, and the tribal colleges, universities. Part 2 was another part where we included Arizona colleges, but also out-of-state colleges, that served Native American students. And then also we included Native American tuition waivers. That one was interesting, where we had Dartmouth present, and they were able to clear up whether or not they actually have a Native American tuition waiver. A big alert that they don't, but they do have a special program to help fund Native American students. And it just so happened that it caught on by mouth, that is a tuition waiver. So watching that one, they will be able to help clarify that information. And also we had, for that portion, we did have Fort Lewis College there. And then their representative from Arizona, she talked about how she helps Arizona students transition into, the institution itself. And also going over the Native American tuition waiver that they have for their Native American students. So for our update, Kim, I'm going to refer to you to this, but it is regarding our Navigating Predominantly White Institutions as Native Students webinar.
Yes, for this one, we had a big turnout, obviously, for the topic that was being presented on. Unfortunately, we are experiencing some technical difficulties in uploading that actual webinar session. So Jerry has been consistently working on that throughout the entire summer since that webinar session to try and upload that, working with our ITCA IT person to try and get that uploaded, and they've just encountered problem after problem. And so I am working on it just from a personal perspective on using what equipment I have on my computer, and I am trying to get it to where it would be an actual video that we can upload successfully to our YouTube channel. So we do have that. Don't think that we're not uploading it just because we've just been having so much technical difficulties with that particular video. And so I am working on it, and I am hoping to get I was hoping to try and have it completed by today, but unfortunately I did not. But I am continuing to work on that to make it look presentable to where it will be an actual video that we can successfully upload to the YouTube channel. But we do have a YouTube channel, so I encourage you to help us spread the word about our webinar sessions. This is where we are going to be uploading all of our sessions from that point, from here on out. And so thank you, Jerry, for providing that update, and I'm gonna turn it back over to you for our next upcoming webinar.
Okay, so for our upcoming webinar, it's gonna be right after the November 20th AIEA general meeting for November. So, our meetings usually last from 11 to 1 p.m., but we're going to see if we, when we have our FAFSA 101 webinar, we're going to have it from 1 p.m. all the way to 3 p.m. So we're going to have that 2-hour time slot where we want to have the FAFSA presenter present about FAFSA to our Native students and then our Native parents there, and then also sort of the changing dates and everything, and then also have a sufficient amount of time for them to take any questions from the attendees regarding FAFSA for this year. So again, it's going to be on November 20th, and it's going to be from 1 to 3 o'clock, and it's going to be right after the November general meeting. And right now we haven't solidified who's going to be presenting, but once we do, we're going to make sure to put that on the agenda and have that information out for November. And then next up, so for this portion, I want to propose to not only continue the webinars, but we want it to help lead up to the 2021-2022 scholarship cycle application. We usually release that in April 2021. So my proposal is to introduce topics that would help students in Arizona prepare for the scholarship application itself. The reason being is because for the scholarship review committee, when we reviewed the scholarships, we just thought that it would be helpful for them to take a look at, writing essay tips, and then also taking a look at what a good resume or a CV looks like, and then how they can build that. Especially for those students that are from middle school and high school. We know that college students have greater opportunities at their institutions to build their resume and their curriculum vitae. But the thing is, what about these middle schoolers and these high schoolers that may not have or have limited opportunities to build their resume? So we thought, if we brought in someone to help with resume and or CV building, what that could look like, and then also look at asking for recommendation letters. So middle school and high school, again, we want to help them focus on good tips on recommendation letters, who to ask, and maybe take a look at what a recommendation letter template looks like, and then, being able to have that good relationship with their recommendation or their recommender, and then take a look at what they want to see inside the recommendation letter. And then also, lastly, just having a webinar of how to apply to the 2021-2022 AIEA student scholarship application. So for that one, we're going to be releasing, hopefully in April 2021, we will have the application out, and then also provide tips on how the students can apply, and then also who to ask for recommendation letters, whether they should send in a resume or a CV, and then also how, what sort of the writing essay prompt is regarding the theme. And then also, if they don't get the scholarship, what do? They still need to apply for FAFSA. There's American Indian Services, and then there's the American Indian College Fund. There's these other resources that are available if they're unable to get the AIEA scholarship. Because even though we have 9 awards right now, some of the students, they don't always apply to all the categories this year for the 2020-2021 application cycle. We had 3 scholarship awards that are empty, and so we only awarded 6 for this year because there is this one particular category that students don't apply to, so they were empty. So we rescinded those awards. So other scholarship. So what I wanted to propose for this general meeting is, what other scholarship topics can we include?
Jerry, just thank you again for that update on our webinars series and what we propose to want to do in the future. I do want to reiterate that for our scholarships that we have with AIEA, we can't emphasize enough on trying to get the word out about the scholarships we have available. This year we only had 1 awardee that went to a middle school student. So there were 2 categories that weren't filled for our middle school students. And maybe one of the topics to suggest is the importance of scholarships, just meaning on how that can help alleviate the financial burden upon a lot of our students, even while they're in elementary, middle school, and high school. You know, that the importance of receiving that and to understand how to apply for those at an early age, so that way they can know how to apply for them when they actually need to at a college level. But just to go back on, you know, what Jerry mentioned about our empty categories that we didn't have for the awardees, that's just one of the things. And that's a little understandable just because they're younger students, you know, with our middle schools. But if we could help them in some way to help them apply and to help them complete, and to have a webinar session to help them provide guidance, would be a great topic to discuss with them as well. So
I might have a suggestion. So a lot of resume building opportunities that could look good when people are applying for scholarships or volunteer opportunities. I know that maybe volunteer opportunities are limited in tribal communities, but it would be interesting to just maybe connect with one or two community-based organizations that work with tribal communities in Arizona to give them an overview of what they do and what kind of volunteer opportunities they may provide. I know there's a lot of food banks that work with tribal communities these days, and so maybe there's a volunteer opportunity there. Tribal health facilities, I would love for a volunteer opportunity with tribal health facilities, but I don't know if that's an opportunity that the tribes or IHS provides, but it would be nice to see if there is a process to volunteer at a health facility. That would be great too. But I know I've heard in the past that liability is always an issue when it comes to volunteers in those settings. But maybe there could be some volunteer opportunities through Unity, and maybe Unity can highlight some of the community-based volunteer opportunities that they've helped coordinate in tribal communities over the years. There's Earth Day, where, you know, a lot of tribes implement an Earth Day in April. So I think there's a couple of opportunities out there that we would want to encourage our youth to give back to their community, but also ensure that they're documenting that in their resume to build a resume, make them more competitive for these different scholarships.
Great, thank you. Those are really wonderful suggestions. I made sure to write all of them down because I think we should probably maybe create a volunteer series, because yeah, I think those students would like that.
all right, are there any other suggestions or topics up for discussion we can have for our webinars?
Yeah, Travis, that's a wonderful idea. I'm wondering if one agency, and not putting you on the spot, but let's just use yours as an example. Suppose that ITCA was able to have a volunteer opportunity and then would partner to place students. I have Native scholars statewide that might trust the ITCA. You know, I just don't know who would want to operate that, but if I had an opportunity and could say, hey, you can volunteer, and then as a part of the volunteer process, they would be encouraged to apply for the scholarship and the other advantages offered by members of this group. So maybe there's a way to centralize that could bring it closer to happening.
That's a great idea, and you know, our programs, 94% of the money that we receive at ITCA goes as tribal subcontracts. So the tribes implement their programs how they see fit that meets the needs of their communities. But I would think it'd be great for ITCA maybe to go through an exercise of building a clearinghouse of volunteer opportunities that we can post on the AIEA website that we host, and maybe connect them with different community-based organizations that we're aware of by tribe. I know not all tribes have food banks, but I know a lot of them do work with St. Mary's and some food banks out of California as well that, you know, on food distribution days, I'm sure they're looking for volunteers to do stuff like that. And then maybe there are some churches or something, you know, out there within the community that could look for volunteers when they're doing community service projects. So I love that idea. Thanks for that. And I want to put more work on Jerry, but that's a great project, Jerry.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I mean, some sort of centralized resource that we can have for the students, I think that would be a great idea. Okay. So then also for our AIEA webinars, I know that maybe during probably next year, we can sort of start going into, because we already had our college and universities sort of webinars. I'm thinking that maybe as time goes by, usually during the summer was the colleges and universities' best opportunity to present the webinars, just because they weren't too busy, and then also they were working remotely because of COVID. But during maybe next summer, I was thinking for the colleges and universities. But right now, I think for the scholarships, we can focus for that for the fall and winter. But yeah, I think holding off for the colleges and universities for now would be a good idea. So for the other topics, you know, tribals and colleges, universities, part 3, I'm thinking we can probably do that for next summer, maybe start up again in April. And then also American Indian Scholarships Part 1. Maybe that could be after we do the FAFSA, after we do resume, recommendation letters, and then, you know, the other scholarship, I guess the scholarship support webinars, we can do the actual AIEA Indian scholarships. So I know that American Indian Services, they do have a YouTube channel, I think, and then they have their recorded videos up on their website about their scholarships, because I know that they release these quarterly scholarships. I know the September deadline already passed, so you know, watching those and then also inviting them to be presenters, that might be something that we can look to maybe in January, once all of our webinars for scholarship support then we can start going into the American Indian scholarships list. And then also colleges and universities with American Indian student services or support programs. That's something that probably we can take a look at also as well. College and university topics that we can include, or are there any other topics that you think we should cover by our AIEA webinars? You know, we learned about, you know, and we think it was Agnes Atakai. She was the one that proposed, oh, what if we do how to navigate predominantly white institutions as Native students. You know, she proposed that in our general meeting. So that was a really good idea. So we just want to be able to throw around ideas so that we can generate, you know, what our webinar is.
Thank you, Jerry. I think we have somebody also mute. I do want to just this is great and good suggestions and topics, and I really like that bringing up organizations that would be able to provide services of you know, student opportunities. I was also informed of another program, the Sienna organization, which is the Southwest Indian Education for Native Americans, and they provide a leadership training program for students. For students who complete the training, they are eligible for a Sienna internship, and so they could, include that on their resumes as well. Yes, Southwestern Institute for the Education of Native Americans. So that's another organization that we could invite during these webinar sessions. And so we'll get that information out, membership, everything that was discussed here today. And if you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to email Jerry those topics. She's taken over on keeping these webinar sessions organized for us. And so we're excited that we're going to be starting that back up and looking forward to making that happen for our students to help them better prepare for educational opportunities. And so, all right, is there any other discussion about the webinars or suggestions, topics of any kind? All right, if there are none, then that concludes our AIEA general meeting. I did add on there, which I probably forgot to add on for the PowerPoint here, which is our program Shareouts. This is something that we previously done whenever we met in person, to where we would allow time for the programs to share out any updates they would like to share to our membership across Indian education across the state of Arizona. And so at that time, I'm going to allow those on the call, if you would like to share out anything about your program, that feel free to do so. But before we do that, there are just a few things I want to highlight as far as the program Shareouts that I was informed of. Those who are on the Indian Education Advisory Council for the Office of Indian Education, we will be having our a strategic planning meeting that's coming up next week on October 26th. And so this is something we're really excited to hear about, the updates and the direction of the Office of Indian Education on the state level. So we're looking forward to that meeting. Our next official meeting will be held on November 4th. And so there's a lot happening within that program. Within the council. We have a great discussion at every meeting. And so I didn't put on the agenda, which I should have put on here just as an update, but again, we'll have a better update at our next meeting in November, just because our next meeting will be in November. And so that's just something to highlight for our Indian Education Advisory Council. The other thing is that the University of Arizona's College of Education, with their Indigenous Teacher Education Project, they are currently recruiting teacher candidates for the upcoming fall 2021 cohort. ITEP is a program that prepares for future leaders, Indigenous educators, to integrate their tribal values and language and presentations, lesson plans, and activities. If you would like to request an information session at your location, or if you would like to be added to the ITEP listserv, feel free to contact the coordinator, Enrique Salt, and we can provide that, her contact information out as an update to our AIEA membership. And then the third thing I'd like to highlight is our STEM. There's a STEM opportunity. This is also with the University of Arizona. This is with the Arizona 4-H STEM University Robotics Virtual Train to Trainer for fall 2020. I was sent a flyer for this. They are seeking 15 to 20 educators and or 4-H volunteers from across the state to lead your own virtual robotics team for your school or for a 4-H club. We will send that flyer out to our membership so that if you're interested in that, then please, you can contact the University of Arizona for their information. And then lastly, I just want to highlight, as far as the Share Out program, is through the Save Our Schools Arizona. They have been holding an Indigenous Perspectives webinar series. And actually we have Nadine on the call today. So Nadine, if you don't mind just sharing out on what the webinar sessions have been doing, or the topics you have kind of highlighted over the past few weeks and the sessions that you've had. One in particular I attended had one of my uncles, part of it, Dr. James writing in, who talked about the trauma and the historical trauma effects that it has on Native students and how it affects their academic success even today. And so they're really great webinar sessions that are being provided from that Indigenous perspective, and a lot of great Indigenous educators, education stakeholders, even from our legislation with the state of Arizona, which was this last session held this week with the legislators there. So Nadine, if you don't mind just sharing out a little bit about what that is.
No, I don't mind at all. Thank you for the opportunity. So the webinars are Facebook Live, but we also record them so that if you missed it, you can go on YouTube. And I always send out the links afterwards as well. So if you're on my listserv, you'll get those notifications. But I do them for Save Our Schools Arizona, for whom I work part-time. And it's a series called Indigenous Perspectives. And so we have different topics and of course different panelists. So basically I act as the moderator for the different panels that we have. So we have had Indigenous perspectives on equity for Native American students. We've had, as Kimberly just referenced, ones about the importance of voting. We actually had two parts to that because there's so much to talk about. And at the end of the one that we just had this week, we decided that we would probably do an ongoing series regarding leadership in positions where you're an elected representative, whether it's the President of the United States or a school board member and everything in between. So we're going to do that one, the next one after the election. So we're going to try to unpack the impact of the election, who got elected, who voted. And of course, from a Native perspective, we want to find out, if we can, how many Native Americans voted. And hopefully there will be a lot more, excuse me, voters from, tribal communities than we've had in the past. We've been very underrepresented for a variety of reasons. But that's been a really good one. There's so much to talk about there. We've also, our next one is planned for the 22nd, which is, the topic is going to be lost language, lost culture. So we're going to have Dr. Jenny DeGroat from NAU and Dr. Sheila Nicholas from U of A, or UA, whatever they like to be called now. And they're going to be our panelists talking about the impact of losing our native languages. It's not just losing a way of speaking. It's when you lose your native language, you lose culture as well. And eventually when the language is gone, the community is impacted detrimentally. So we're going to talk about that. So it's just, I try to do it every other week. So every 2 weeks on a Tuesday at 5 p.m. And, if you have any suggestions for other topics, I'd be happy to entertain those. Right? Anyway, was that a question or is that, oh, Margaret going in and out? So yeah, that's what we're doing. And then through Sienna, we have several programs that we're doing. I know you didn't ask about that, but I'm going to take the time to share since I'm an attendee. We have Understanding Federal Education Funding. So on that one, we cover titles 1A, 2A, 6A, and Johnson O'Malley. I just did a presentation at AIEA on that. And then we have Connecting to Native American Students, Building Relationships. That's for educators and administrators. We have Leadership Training for Native American Youth, which I mentioned to Kimberly. She mentioned that's where we can provide an internship for students who do complete that whole training. We have, excuse me, The Power of Family Engagement. And we have Understanding Tribal Sovereignty. And so within each of those, we have multiple sessions on different topics that relate to the to the program title. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Nadine. Some great opportunities out there for all of our educators and our students. So again, we just encourage you to seek those out and to help share the word about those. So I'm going to leave it open. That's all that I had as far as updates. So I'm going to leave it open to the membership to feel free to share out updates about your program. I'm also including what I talked about in our chat box. So if you need, if you want to just copy and save that for more information at a later time, feel free to do so.
We are going to have a conference for students next week. I'm actually going to include the link to the link for the landing page in the chat. So it's about Indigenous determination. It's going to be next Friday from 1 to 4. Essentially, we're going to have a keynote speaker. We're going to have storytelling, really hit on health and wellness and voting. So a lot of different things just to kind of keep people's spirits up during this time. There's no registration, so people can just come on whenever. And I just wanted to share that because it's coming up super fast. So if you guys know of anyone who wants to attend, I thought I'd just share.
Thank you, Lindsay. We'll pull that information so we can also share out to our larger membership through our listserv.
I have a general order one. We started off the day with elections. I attended a webinar yesterday and received a slide deck with Elections 101. One of the things I learned after having voted my entire life is that the actual electoral college electors are listed next to the candidate name in the presidential box. So when you look at your presidential box and you see those little elector names, that was just a new piece for me. I have the deck. It's excellent. You can cut and paste it. It's public. And so if anybody would like it, let me know and I'll email it to you. And good luck voting.
Yes, please vote.
So just speaking of voting, you know, ITCA has long supported and promoted voting in local, state, and national elections. And this year, we're rolling out a pretty intense social media to encourage people to vote, doing videos, social media posts. But we're also going to offer 2 services on our website. I don't think they're posted on now, but I'll make sure to let the group know that a lot of our times our people may be registered to vote in White River or up at Navajo or Hopi, but they may live Monday through Friday in Flagstaff, Phoenix, or Tucson. And so we get a lot of phone calls on election day and people asking where they are registered to vote. And we tell them, oh, you're registered to vote up at White River. And they were like, well, I'm in Phoenix right now. Can I vote in Phoenix? It's like, no, if you're registered to vote in White River, you have to vote in White River. So we're pushing out a pretty strong campaign right now on requesting an absentee ballot. And if you do request an absentee ballot, we'll send you or if you intend to request an absentee ballot, or you did, we'll send you a t-shirt that says, and I still vote. So the idea is, I'm away from home and I still vote. So we have these cool little black t-shirts that we can send you. We have all the sizes. And then we're also wanting to make sure our people are safe if they decide to vote in person. Our people have a tradition of voting in person. We're not a big vote by mail kind of people. And so we're offering we'll offer it on our website that you can request a safety voter kit. That'll come with a mask, an individualized wrapped pen, hand sanitizer, and gloves, in addition to some a brochure that has information about knowing your voting rights. So you can request that. You're going to be able to request it on our website. And then we'll also be distributing them to our member tribes so that they can distribute those voter safety kits within their communities. So be on the lookout on those two programs. This past week, we just concluded a text banking campaign that we worked in conjunction with Arizona State University and Maricopa Community College District. So we're very happy that we have some Native students who are passionate about wanting to encourage their own people to get out the vote. And we'll just see what happens. There's some really interesting candidates this year. There's some interesting propositions this year. And so we'll see what happens after November 3rd.
Thank you, Travis. Do you know also about the initiative that you're having with Unity as far as the students who had registered? Can you talk a little bit about, I know that deadline's passed, but just a little bit about how ITCA, because yay, they're part of us too, helped partner with them on what you guys did for the students.
Yeah, thanks for that, Kim. I'm glad you knew of that. I wasn't sure that people knew that we partnered with Unity. So we really wanted to promote youth engagement or civic engagement, because our youth are an important population that we want to create a new generation of voters. And we don't, in my generation, we've kind of failed at voting, but we want to create a new generation of voting. So we partnered with the Unity, the United National Indian Tribal Youth National Organization, to do what we called civic engagement squads. So the idea was that youth councils would sign up, receive some type of stipend, and that they would do some relational phone calls and text messaging to encourage their own family members and friends to vote. And then we wanted them to also create social media posts that they could post on our website, on their own social media. And so it's going pretty good. And they're also doing, I think Unity did some webinars around the importance of voting as well. That was occurring back in September and will be continuing in October. And then next week, I forgot to mention this, we'll be rolling out a program called Native Vote Ambassadors. So we're looking for Native youth who have a lot of, who are influencers on social media, to be able to, one, share the content that ITCA has, but also to then also create their own content and then they post on their own social media, and we'll pay them a stipend, I think $500, I think it is. So if you have any Native youth who are influencers, encourage them to, send them my way, and we'd be happy to have them. We would love for them to commit to post the importance of voting from now until Election Day.
Yes, I think ITCA is doing a fantastic job on helping getting the Native vote out there with all the work that you guys do with the Native Vote organization, and also with our youth, and encouraging them to place their vote and to get registered, and the importance of that. So thank you, Travis and ITCA, for the work that you do, and all the volunteers. We've had a lot of our AIEA membership who's also volunteered with trying to get the Native vote out there too. So thank you for highlighting the importance of that. So any other updates or any shareouts anybody would like to provide?
Hi, this is Jerry. So I just wanted to, I know that Kim, you were covering the public hearing on the Commission on Native Children. That reminded me that for my program for ITCA, we do have a new curriculum on the Healthy Native Youth website. It is called the First Nations Youth Suicide Prevention Curriculum. This curriculum is free, and since it's up on the website, What we wanted to promote is that for Arizona and then our ITCA partnering tribes, we want to provide this free curricula to create an online curricula training with the Indigenous Services Canada as a collaboration to train facilitators. So that would be teachers, schools, counselors, and prevention specialists, but for those sites. So it would just be a private training for those tribes and those programs to implement this curriculum. And what we provide is a stipend to train the facilitators, but also conduct the curriculum itself, and then also any TA support, we would provide that as well. But the curriculum, the age group is designed for middle schoolers, but it can be flexible, and then also it's LBGT inclusive. And it's 24 lessons, so 1 hour classroom sessions. It's free. And what we would like to do, the evidence of effectiveness is tribal best practice. But if anyone has questions, just let me know. And then I posted the information down below in the chat box for anyone that wants information on that.
Thank you, Jerry. I know a few of our students had attended one of your workshops with the Healthy Native Youth, and it was eye-opening, and they learned a lot during that session that really had an impact on them. So thank you for the work that you do in getting that health information out to our students also.
Kim, really quickly, you guys were talking about Unity earlier. I was also asked to share that they have youth webinars and adult webinars coming up in the next couple of months, actually through December, even through the beginning of December. And if you just go to their website, unityinc.org, you can get that information. There's quite a few virtual webinars that are going to be presented. Also, just really quickly, does AIEA ever support or show support for any, say, like candidates or propositions that are, any legislations that are up for a vote? Do we ever do, does our organization do that or no?
Travis, you may be the better one to answer that for the work that was previously done before I came on board, but I think in the past, AIEA was actually one of the strong advocates for Indian education throughout Arizona. And Travis, if you want to speak a little bit more about that, feel free.
Yeah, certainly we can, as a nonprofit organization, we can serve as an information hub to educate people about different candidates, different propositions that are proposed. But as a nonprofit, we can't endorse any candidates, but nonprofits can endorse propositions. So I know that there's a Red for Ed proposition being considered for this election. I really haven't taken a look at it or did any sort of analysis about how it might affect our Native youth, but of course we have a large population of our Native youth attending public schools, and you know, the tax requirement for those who make over $250,000 could contribute to education in a positive way. If I understand it correctly, it's just sort of like a general fund tax revenue. So I don't think it's, and Nadine, you probably know more about it than I do. So there's no, like, the school districts would still make the determination of how to use that money. Whether the school districts decide to apply some resources that would benefit Native students, that would be some advocacy on your end as district employees and families and communities to make sure that if there is some additional revenue coming to the school district, that there's consideration that that money helps Native students in a very specific way. Maybe it's tutoring, after school programs, but that's something that I think would be good for AIEA to consider endorsing, if that's what Well, Nadine says yes on Prop 208, but that might be something AIEA could consider as a nonprofit to endorse propositions.
Yeah, since I said, I work for Save Our Schools, and they're the people who did the Red for Ed movement. The whole purpose of Save Our Schools right now is, or the main purpose, I should say, is to help the public understand that through the voucher system and the tax credit system, up to earlier this year, $264 million had been taken from public schools and given to private schools through tuition. And 2 years ago, there was almost $17 million that was diverted from high density schools. So schools that have 25% or more Native American enrollment, they lost almost $17 million. And as you know, our students already, or our schools already don't get enough money as it is. And for all that money to be going out to private schools is really detrimental to our Native students. And this whole voucher system is promoted by people of wealth, people who have connections to these private schools in one way or another. I'm back. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, it just got disconnected somehow. So as far as Prop 208 goes, yes, I said I would, I have voted yes for that. And as a private citizen, I think everybody should vote for Prop 208. The ads on TV are very misleading. The only people who are going to be taxed to support 208 are individuals who make $250,000 or more a year, and couples who make $500,000 or more a year. And it's a very small, I think it's 3% or 0.03. No, I'm not positive on that, but I do know that not everybody's taxes are going to go up as a result of Prop 208. It's just for the people, who have already make a lot of money. And to Travis's point, I don't believe that there's any of the money specifically earmarked to help Native American students, but just getting more money into the classroom and being able to reduce class sizes, because Arizona has the highest, I believe, if not the highest, we're in the top 3 of teacher to student ratio. So that it's getting more and more ridiculous and more difficult, of course, with COVID, to teach with that many students. Some teachers have to do online and teaching and in-person teaching, and some are doing both, which if you've ever been in the classroom, and I haven't, but I can imagine that that's nearly impossible to actually educate your children while, looking out for their health and well-being as well. So this money will go to being able to hire more teachers, getting more money into the classrooms to, buy supplies and, everything that they need. So I'm trying to remember what the ads have been saying. If they say as much as 200, superintendents make as much as $250,000, well, that may be the case. There might be one person or a couple of people doing that, but that's a school board decision. It's not something that's done at the legislative level. It's local control. It's a school board decision as to how much the superintendents are paid and all of that. But anyway, I can get more information to you, more detail if you want that, but that's basically the gist of it for Prop 208.
And if I could just add one more thing I forgot to mention, that Governor Ducey is going to be the governor in which he's going to renegotiate the tribal gaming compacts. So 8% of the revenue that tribes make off of gaming goes to the state of Arizona. It's directly, all that money is directed to certain things. One of those things is classroom reduction. So all public schools receive money from tribal gaming compacts to help reduce classroom size. And it's a very weird funding formula thing. So for your consideration, if this Red for Ed proposition was to pass, it would actually help the tribes renegotiate their compact to ensure that the revenue stays at 8% or as limited as possible, to ensure that the tribes can maintain those profits at the level that they need to meet the needs of their community. So I think I don't want to, even though we can endorse certain propositions, I just want to give you that piece of information for your consideration as you consider whether or not you should support the Red for Ed proposition.
What does Ducey want to do to the compacts? Does he want to try to get more money out of it, or what's his thinking?
Yeah, I think he's very heavily influenced by the California compact that Governor Schwarzenegger negotiated with the tribes in California. And I think the revenue on that end is about 12% that goes to the state. And so I think his thinking is that he'd want to at least match what California's compact negotiation is. So the tribes are a little concerned about that because, there's, especially in this time of COVID and this recession and, casino closures, the support that comes from tribal gaming hasn't been doing so well. And so the idea of the governor wanting to increase that revenue sharing from 8 to 10 to 12% because the state needs additional dollars to support whatever they want to do, I think that's going to be more harmful to the tribes than helpful. But if this Red for Ed passes and all this money is going to to support more public schools, then maybe the governor might consider not raising that revenue share and keeping it at 8%. So just a food for thought.
And I would like to weigh in on that a little bit. When I was at the Office of Indian Education, I talked to lots of people about gaming funds and the fact that none of those funds were earmarked for Indian education. I don't know if you guys know the process for that, but the 12%, there's a formula, and the money is distributed across all public school districts and charter schools in Arizona. It's not, like I said, none of it was earmarked specifically to serve Native American students. And so once it gets to the school district, they decide how to use the funds. And if they're not, very proactive with regards to their Native students, then it's not helping Native students necessarily anymore.
And that's my takeaway with this proposition, that there needs to be advocacy at the district level to ensure that if there's extra resources coming to the school, that you all are advocating at the district level to ensure that it's benefiting our Native students.
Yeah, and that's something that I'm sure all of our Indian educators across the state are continuously doing with as much funding as we can get. We'll take it. But thank you for those updates and that valuable and resourceful information.
Can I say one more thing, Kimberly? Since sure. I got cut off, I'm sorry. This has never happened to me. First time for everything. So I was going to say, if anybody has any input, Intertribal Council should. Travis, maybe you guys, if you're going to be discussing this, if it does come up and open to, well, you said they're renegotiating, I would suggest that there be some kind of set aside at least proposed for specifically for Native American students. That's it.
So one thing that's about the we're going off on a conversation, but just to let you know, the proposition, the law that allowed for tribal government gaming specifically says that it has to benefit the general population, and none of the money can go directly to support specific populations. So if there was going to be any renegotiation, it would have to go through another proposition process in order to change that language to help benefit Indian education. It's an unfortunate negotiation piece that the tribes had to go through when they negotiated with the governor at the time, but none of the money can benefit specific populations.
Yeah, and I think just on that, that's why a lot of the tribal governments are having such a hard time with this negotiations with the tribal gaming commissions and with the states. Yeah, and that goes across Indian country altogether. You know, in my home state of Oklahoma, there's so much that's happening with the gaming commission there for our tribal governments that it's a continuous advocacy for our Native communities. But this is just a really important topic to keep apprised of and to be updated and educated about, so that we will know how to advocate for our students and our Native families as far as Indian education is concerned. So thank you, Nadine and Travis, for that update and that information. So, anybody else would you like to share out? We've got about a little less than 4 minutes, and so with the time remaining, if there's anybody who would like to share out anything about their program on the call. All right, if there are no other program share outs, then I would like to call for an adjournment of our general meeting today. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
A motion.
Okay, motion on the floor to adjourn the meeting by Jerry. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a second came very quickly by Linan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstain? None. Well, thank you all for your time and coming to our meeting today, for attending our meeting, and we thank you for your dedication to AIEA and our Native students. So wish you well, take care, and stay safe. And we'll get the information out about our next meeting coming up in November. So take care, everybody.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.